Hey everybody, Caleb here. Today I want to talk about something a little different. I normally talk about one specific topic. Today I want to discuss a general discussion that I've been having, and that is what is required knowledge for lighting designers going forward beyond COVID 19 as soon as we return to work. Because I feel like a lot has changed. A lot of things that were coming to fruition are now fully to fruition. The skill sets that we're going to have increased. The amount of gear that we have to bring has changed a little bit. And overall, I think we need to mentally frame ourselves as lighting designers a little bit differently once we return to the workforce because I don't think it's going to be the same for some time. I think the economic fallout from COVID 19 is going to far outlast any uh, social distancing or safety practices that are put into effect in the concert industry. So, that being said, I want to discuss my first key point, and that's knowledge. Um, Programs that you have to learn that I would recommend learning going forward beyond COVID 19. Um, I would recommend learning different lighting consoles, and how to build new fixture profiles in those consoles, in addition to being able to fluently program a show with it. Reason 3 consoles and not just one is because vendors will be throwing different consoles at you all the time. If you stick with 3 consoles, I should learn Campsys a little bit more, but I have 2 main consoles and one backup, as I call it. MA and Hog, I can run a show and do almost anything on. And then Campsys, I'm a little more limited, but I can still run a show. I've run shows on Campsys and I make it work. But it's not my specialty. Nobody would call me for a Campsys arena tour because they know it's not my specialty. So that being said, I would learn 2 or 3 consoles. I would at least know how to use 3, so that way you could handle various situations, get more gigs, get put on with more vendors, and clients like to see you use their console, even if you own your own console, which I'll get to later. And then you're going to want to make sure you can import GDTF fixture profiles in the coming future, because I think that's going to be implemented very soon. I would also recommend learning at least 2 media servers. My favorite 2 media servers are Resolume, and I need to learn Resolume a little bit more. I was working in Avolite's AI for some time, but Resolume has been proven more industry standard, so that's the way I'm going to go. So I'm going to be learning that in the next couple days. I would recommend 2 media servers because that's part of what lighting is controlling now. Media servers control the visual aspect of a show, while it seems the video department is now handling more the technical side, basically everything before the inputs. So, having knowledge of a media server, being able to patch a media server into your lighting console and operate it is a very valuable tool for lighting designers to have, and it's going to make you much more versatile when they say, we have a video engineer, he comes to set up the show, he's dropping you a media server, you run the video for the show. That's a very common scenario, and as a lighting designer beyond 2020, you should be able to handle that. In addition, I would recommend learning either Photoshop or GIMP. I know there's other photo editing softwares out there, but Photoshop and GIMP seem to be kind of the industry standard. GIMP is completely free and open source and can load Photoshop files. The only difference is Photoshop is a little more friendly and it's part of the Adobe suite. So I would recommend learning GIMP and being able to do basic photo and graphic editing on the fly if you need. Besides, now that it's post COVID and almost everything is done online, being able to make graphics is a very handy skill that you should know. I've gotten better at it this last year, and already opportunities presented itself that I didn't even see back when I wasn't doing graphics. So graphics is a very useful skill to learn. If you want to go as far as learning After Effects or Premiere Pro, go ahead. Premiere Pro is pretty simple. After Effects, I feel like, is more up lighting designers' avenue in the way it works with parameters. But that would be wise as well. But I wouldn't consider that your primary learning focus for right now. I would also learn OBS and Companion. OBS is Open Broadcaster Software, and it is a very powerful, free, basically media server. The only thing it lacks as a media server is DMX and MIDI control, but you get your MIDI control from Companion. But let me discuss OBS real quick. OBS is a streaming software. It's used for probably 80% of the streams out there. The other ones is Streamlabs OBS, which is just a slightly enhanced version of OBS. But OBS, I would consider that a required skill for every AV tech, because post-COVID, every single event is either going to be streamed or streaming is going to cross their mind at least once, just because of what we all went through. So I would invest in that learning, and I would learn Companion. What Companion allows you to do is, if you have a Stream Deck from Elgato, or you're using the Stream Deck web space, you can control Companion with ArtNet, and it can trigger your Stream Deck. So you can change camera shots, you can change layers, you can play videos, you can do everything that a Stream Deck can do, triggered from ArtNet, which is a very useful tool to have in your back pocket if you're doing a stream or you're doing a shoot and all of a sudden there's no camera switcher, or there never was a camera switcher, you're the camera switcher, or you're just doing your own gig and you want to make it look better. So OBS and Companion I would consider required learning. Up there too is Dot 2 and Camsys Magic Q and their visualizers. Reason for those two specific programs is that they are the cheapest single universe DMX output that you can find. Dot 2, as it is, outputs a free universe of ArtNet, and Camsys has a dongle for their Magic Q program that's about $130 or so that outputs a universe of DMX. And both of those are used very frequently in clubs and it's very small gigs, but there's a lot of very small gigs. There's strength in numbers there. So if you know those two softwares, you can easily go in and pick up those gigs and gain some extra money if you need. It's just another console under your belt. I, however, wouldn't... Magic Q you could include in your 3 consoles to know. I wouldn't include Dot 2 in your consoles to know out of the 3 that I initially told you about. The reason for that is the program Dot 2 is still around, and I think it's going to be for a long time. The console has been discontinued, so it's not a very... It's Dot 2 is basically limited to a single universe console now. That's why I wouldn't consider it in your main consoles. Magic Q, on the other hand, has the Camsys functionality, and if you can easily go from a Camsys to a Stadium, and you can also go from a Stadium to, whatever Camsys console you want. I would also know how to utilize MA3D as a visualizer for some softwares that don't have a built-in visualizer. If you have access to MA parameters, you could run ArtNet or SACNet in and use MA3D as your visualizer from MA2. That said, I would take a minute if you don't know the ins and outs of ArtNet, SACN, and Telnet and how to send it. I would take a minute to brush up on that and become familiar with it. They're very simple once you get the hang of IP address structure. But if you don't know that, it could be a very limiting factor if you get thrown on a gig and they say, we have a Cat5 snake, send ArtNet. And maybe you brought your own console. Maybe they have a fresh console with its own IP and you don't know what to do. So that would be a very useful tool to brush up on. And then if you're using ArtNet, I would also recommend downloading ArtNetometer to your PC or Mac. I think it's for Mac. ArtNetometer is a program that's used to track ArtNet packets going in and out of your computer, assuming you set it to the right IP address. And it's a very useful tool when troubleshooting. So those are the core programs that I would learn going forward from COVID-19. When it comes to gear, here's what I would... A lot of the gear has stayed the same. There's just a few additions. I would carry a capture card with you because odds are you're going to get put in front of a media server and it might be your own media server or your license, and you're going to want to take a camera input or a laptop input or a GoPro input or phone input. You're going to need a capture card for that, whether it's HDMI or SDI, unless you can figure out a way to send NDI video, which is a possibility in some cases, but your NDI could be tied up with something else. So I would carry a capture card with you. Now, when it comes to HDMI or SDI, you got to take your pick and be lucky. Kind of weigh out your clients. HDMI is more versatile, but it can have its issues. The Magwells are pretty good capture cards, and I'll leave a link for those. Actually, they're very good capture cards. I've only run into one issue with my laptop where it didn't see it, and that's because HDMI does that. It has to form a handshake because it seems every HDMI protocol is slightly different in something. I'm not a video expert there. SDI, on the other hand, works pretty flawlessly. So if you invest in an SDI capture card and you work around SDI cameras a lot, that might be very beneficial because you could easily grab one of their SDI inputs, or you could grab all four from a scaler and then rescale in Resolume. So I would carry that with you. I would also carry an iPhone with NDI camera downloaded. NDI camera is $20, and an iPhone, I'm not telling you to switch phones. You can purchase a used iPhone from one of your friends or OfferUp or wherever, and that will be suitable to put NDI camera on and connect to the same network as you and use it. And that's basically all there is to NDI camera, by the way. I would also carry parameters or any dongle that comes with your favorite on PC software. Most consoles have a on PC software to accompany them. Like Campsys has Magic Q, Hog has Hog for PC, MA2 obviously has the Grandma 2 on PC and MA3 on PC. Avo Lights has Titan on PC, and I'm sure there's other ones out there, but those are the biggest ones. I would carry some parameters or DMX nodes so that you can output DMX and use your laptop as a lighting console. Having your own lighting console with you does two things. One, if an emergency arises and your console goes south on you and you need a console right then and there, it's there for you. If you're working as a master electrician and you need to test something, it's there for you. So you could use it as a tool, or if you want to make money off of it, which I highly recommend given the opportunity to, it's as easy as this. If a client's booking you for a gig long in advance, you just let them know that you have a console that you can bring that you feel very comfortable in, and tell them honestly how many shows have gone south on it. I tell my clients I've had MA on PC crash one time over the 4 years I've been using Grand MA on PC. and I'll offer to bring that console with me and use it for the run at a slightly reduced rate from what it would cost to rent a full-size console from the shop. The reason I have to offer it at a slightly reduced rate is because they are changing their plans. The client is changing their initial plans from renting from the shop to renting from you. There's risk involved with that, and ultimately they have to make a decision. There has to be some kind of cost savings involved with that decision. Otherwise, they're just going to go the standard route, get the console they always get, and you're out of money when you know that you could have used your console and it would have worked just fine. And you could have made a couple extra $100. So I would carry parameters, and I would carry a laptop with you. And I know some of these things I'm saying are expensive, and I know that it's COVID and none of us have much money. That being said, if you have something to spare, especially if it's for the video department, and you see a calling or an opportunity, if you get that piece of equipment, I would recommend purchasing it if you have the funds and savings available. If you don't, focus on your survival, please. Don't spend money on unnecessary stuff. Ultimately, if you can't afford these things, you can request it, and somewhere down the line, if there's a production need, it'll probably be met. If not, oh well, just know that naturally owning gear helps you get the better hand in a bid. Which kind of brings me to my next segment, which is overall business intuition and mental framing for coming back after COVID. There's a lot of skills that if you're an established lighting designer already, you probably know, but I'm putting them on the list because I feel they need to be reinforced because their importance has changed. One of those would be knowing how to light for camera. I'm seeing a couple streams come out and their lighting guy does not know how to light for camera. They're using weird blue hues that camera didn't white balance for properly, and they're doing nothing in the backdrop. So just know about color temperatures and what I call layering, having 3 different layers of action going on in your camera shot, and how to do eye candy properly. Another thing nowadays is how to properly jump on an opportunity. A lot of opportunities are kind of oddly presenting themselves right now, and they're kind of hidden. Like a lot of you young guns, you probably have a production company in your local area that you've been wanting to work for, or maybe it's a touring facility that you've been wanting to work for, and they just haven't been giving you the time of day because they're busy. They've got their A-list crew and they've got their shows and they don't have time for you. Well, suddenly they don't have any shows and half their crew has gone on another job. So they've got a lot more time of day to give you, and you'll get a lot more opportunity to have one-on-one time with them and learn some of their equipment and get introduced to their company and really have a chance of getting solid work with them as soon as you get back into the industry, assuming this industry takes off again. Also, highly recommend having a digital platform or portfolio where you can post your work. Whether that's an Instagram where you post photos of your shows, or Facebook where you tag everybody that was involved with the event, or even TikTok where you just take fun videos of the event, or maybe work in other themes based around your brand. Having that content out there now that you can't physically get out into gigs, having that content out there is going to be your biggest ally in advertising yourself and marketing yourself to both local companies and touring companies the further you get in your career. And that content can be anything from you working with the gear that you have, or working with someone else's gear, or just making fun 3D visualization lighting design videos in your room on your spare time. Or you could do the YouTube route, kind of like I'm doing, and do tutorials or do entertainment. You know, it's all up to you. Content is king, though. Content is what will separate you from others because you'll have something to show where others don't. One thing I'd recommend for people both starting out in this industry to establish a name, and experienced veterans to keep your name relevant in this industry, is to go on Facebook groups like MA Lighting, Everything Stage Lighting, HOG users, whatever your console is, like those, and go to some pages that of consoles that you don't like or don't know very well and like those too. And as you see questions coming and going, and as you learn the consoles, post your questions to those websites and you'll get answers. And likewise, if you see people posting questions that you know the answer to and you see that it wasn't posted that long ago, take that opportunity to answer that question for that person, and you'll help build relationships in the community and let yourself and your name be known in the community. I've had a lot of people come up to me and call me and hire me for jobs just because they say, I saw you posting and answering questions in MA Lighting and you seem like you know what you're talking about, and I don't know anybody else, so I called you. So just having your name out there when they decide to make a call or start looking for lighting designers. And probably the most useful thing for myself that I've done in this industry was about 2 years ago when I found I found three friends in other states. One was out of the country that was a lighting designer and in my industry. And I just talked to them and said, I have some stuff going on in my head and I want to tell you. And I had a conversation with them and it was nice. And then they talked to me, and some of them had similar issues. All of them knew people that were having those issues. So it becomes really easy to find someone you can relate to. Now, the reason I say put long distance between it is because there's absolutely no feelings of old friendship or old feelings or competition between gigs or companies. And statistically speaking, long distance between somebody increases the odds that you can expose your weakness and ask for help without the subtle fear that they're going to jump your gig or go up to somebody's boss and start talking. You know, obviously that would be really rude if someone did that and that person wouldn't be considered a friend, but having distance between there and saying, I'm your new friend, you can talk to me about anything, I'm going to talk to you about stuff, that really helps. Also, befriending people that are out of your industry but still in the entertainment industry. I befriended a lot of dancers and artists, and I talked to them, and if there's something that I know they could probably relate to, I'll bring it up in discussion and say, how do you cope with this, or what do you do? And oftentimes we'll have different answers because we come from different backgrounds. And also we get to have fun, lighthearted conversations that the other person doesn't really see coming or doesn't know what we're about to say. And sometimes those conversations can go better than conversations with people in my industry. The last thing I want to talk to you, and this kind of caught me unexpected during this COVID-19 crisis, was the ability to hustle a shit job and for that to be completely okay. I know a lot of people right now that had to get other jobs because the entertainment industry isn't paying their bills, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. What I would recommend for people who have a job is to assess your time and see if you could squeeze in a side project slowly during the downtime of that job if they don't necessarily care about what you do. Don't jeopardize your job in the process. But if you have a construction job with long truck drives in between, like I was doing, you can use that time to work on content. It might not be fun, and you might throw up from motion sickness once, but it's possible. The other thing is if you got a job like at a gas station and you're just kind of there in between times, you could easily use that time to be on your phone or even sneak a laptop behind the counter and work on a project of your own. Don't get fired in the process, but it is a good way to keep your morale up and keep your relevancy in the industry while still bringing in an income from somewhere else. And then the last and final thing I forgot to mention was as we go through this COVID-19 crisis, obviously most of people's budgets are shot. It's ludicrous to go around expecting the same rate pre-COVID as you got post-COVID. Anyone asking for a $400 day rate for a live stream is going to get laughed at because there's simply not that money available in most cases. So That being said, during this COVID-19 crisis, work with your vendors, work with their budget, but try to negotiate other things if you can. If there's direct gear that you want to barter for that you know they have and maybe don't use, ask for that in addition to whatever pay they're giving you. Or if they could put your name in the live stream or do a shout out or partner with you in a different way, whether it's gear trading or education on either something that's in use or something that's in their shop. Get creative and assess what the value of your day is and see how you could get that value in a different way. You might be getting only 50 to $100 for the day. Hopefully you're getting over $100. Otherwise you could be working almost any other job. But if you're only getting the $50 to $100 range because that's all they have in their budget, try to negotiate something else. Put your name in their live stream. Talk to the artists and work with them personally and build a relationship with them. Just be sure to talk with whoever's organizing the event and make sure you're not stepping on any toes or making everybody mad. Hopefully this helps shed some light on the uncertainty of this COVID situation. If this helped at all, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up so I can get some feedback. And if you have friends that you think could benefit from this or that are in your industry, go ahead and share this on Facebook so they can see it too. I want to at the least give people something to work on that I'm pretty sure will be constructive in the future. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have safe gigs out there. I hope you're getting some live streaming gigs and I hope you're getting some work. But I appreciate you listening. Have a good day. Have safe gigs. Take care.